What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video here in Mastering Penny Stocks. So in the previous video, we're talking about pre-market scanners. In this video, we're going to be looking in depth at the low float momentum scanners, kind of give you a brief run through of the scanners, how I use them, and then also the window specific filters as we did in the pre-market video. And then we're also going to touch on some of the stock charts and kind of show you how the pre-market scanner works and how then you can use it to your benefit. And then, of course, we'll touch on this in more detail in later videos. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. So on the left bottom hand of my screen, or in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you can see there are two different scanners. Let me drag this one up a little bit more, and then I'll actually just pull this one over here too as well. All right, so there's two scanners. The one on the left is a low float momentum scanner, and the one on the right is also a low float momentum scanner. But they both do something a little bit different, because every once in a while, a stock will kind of skip under the radar, fly under the radar for the scanner on the left, whereas the scanner on the right will help pick those stocks up if this one misses it. Okay, so and what I mean by that is scanners are so specific that they can easily miss stocks. People think that just because you have a scanner, you're going to pick up every stock, and it's not the case, because stocks will trade different volumes on some day. They will have volume spikes on one day. So again, there's so much that goes into the movement and the trading of any given stock that one scanner, you can't really rely on one scanner to pick it all up all the time. You could go very in depth and you could throw a bunch of specific scan filters in one scanner, but you're going to start picking up so many different stocks that it becomes of no use. It's just too much to manage. So that's why I have these two, and I'll go over them. So there are two different momentum scanners. I'm going to talk about them both. So the one on the left, okay, is primarily for finding penny stocks that are starting to run. Okay, so in previous videos, we talked about pre-market scanners, where you can find stocks that are gapping up in the morning pre-market or gapping down in the morning pre-market, and then you can judge which way you want to trade them that way. But every once in a while, you're going to have these penny stocks that are really good to trade that end up just running and popping out of nowhere. There was no pre-market action. There was no trading pre-market, or if there was trading pre-market, it was very slight that you couldn't even have, had any idea it was going to be good. So what I'm getting at is there's going to be penny stocks that will just fly up out of nowhere, and you're not going to be able to find them with the pre-market scanner, and you're not really going to be able to find them, with some basic FinViz scanner. You're going to need something that, can get the job done, and that's something like Trade Ideas, okay? Because they have very specific window filters in which you can enter criteria to find these particular stocks, and I'm going to go into that right now. So this one on the left is particularly for finding stocks that are just starting to run, and I'm going to move this one off the screen for right now. So let's look at this. I want to show you this. So let's go down to the bottom. What I'm doing is I'm going to go through the stocks that this scanner alerted on Friday's trading, okay? So this is, right now it's actually Saturday. Who knows when you're watching this video, but it's Saturday. And yesterday's trading, there was quite a few penny stocks that popped up. So the first one we can look at on the scanner, and we'll go through them. We'll actually use it on this one down here. So we'll start with DPW. So DPW, early right in the morning, popped up. It didn't end up really doing too much. It ended up just coming right back down. You can see the alert was at 9:34. And if we go over here, 9:34 would have been this candle right here, the big one, the second big one to go. So it would have alerted us on this candle. So that second big candle to start running, the scanner said, hey, look at DPW, this thing might start popping up. Though it ended up popping to $1.50 and then crashing, it's very possible this thing could have ran up another 50 cents to $1, and we would have known right on the beginning of the move. But it didn't happen this time. Okay. So again, it'll alert you of these stocks, but it doesn't mean that these stocks are going to take off. People still have to be trading them and willing to keep buying them to make them go up. But this scanner will tell you which stocks may do that. Okay, so let's go down to the next one I want to show you here. Let's just go through a few of them. ISNS. So ISNS, for example, right? You can look at this and go, well, this stock isn't really good at all. You're right, but the same criteria you scan for to find these good stocks will also pull up bad stocks, because most of these penny stocks that start running out of nowhere, they usually start trading on really low volume, and then they just spike out of nowhere. So that's what we're looking for, stocks that essentially are trading on really low volume, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere they get this massive volume spike, and then they start running. Well, that can happen too on stocks like this, and nothing, and still nothing can happen, because look, we're trading on low volume, and all of a sudden we get a massive volume spike, and that's kind of what's alerting us here. And you'll be able to see when was it alerted. So ISNS was alerted at 9:34, and what do you know? 9:34 was this big volume spike in here. Okay. So let's continue to actually a good one. So a good one we got alerted was oh, I'm not going to do it on this one, we'll go to the bottom one. So a good one that was alerted was the stock BDR on Friday or yesterday. Okay, look at this. Okay, look at this in the morning. So look at the trading. Oh, you don't want to do that. Look at the trading that took place over the past couple days on BDR. Absolutely nothing, no volume. Remember how I just said, look at the stock before this, ISNS. Remember how I said it pulled up this, but this isn't really good. We can't really trade that because there's still not enough volume and no one's trading it. So, you may be thinking, oh, I thought this is supposed to pull up good penny stocks to trade. It does, but we still have to wean through some of those bad ones because of reasons like this. Look at BDR, right? Look at these past couple days on BDR. BDR was nothing. BDR was junk. There was absolutely no volume. No one was trading it, right? And let's come into the day that it was really good. All of a sudden, there was no, look at pre-market. Pre-market is this gray area. There was nothing. There was absolutely no trading really pre-market, and then what happens? All of a sudden, this thing ends up running from 99 cents all the way to $1.34. So it moves up more than 100 some percent, or it goes up a big amount actually. Let's see. Okay, it went up. It went up going up 50%. So, anyways, really big move from 99 cents to $1.34 is not 100%, but it ran up 50-60% here really fast. And there was no pre-market trading. So that pre-market scanner that we did in the previous video would not have told you or been able to find a stock like this, okay? And we would need one of these low float penny stocks, low float momentum scanners to find it, okay? So as you can see, BDR, the first alert on BDR was at 9:40, which is still a little, it was basically right at the beginning of the move. It wasn't the first few candles, but look at this, ready? 9:40, if you look over here, 9:40.33, so almost 9:41, we were alerted of BDR, which would have been right here on this candle, which is, let me pull it up for you guys. Hold on one second. So 9:34 would have been this candle right there. We were alerted of BDR on that candle, which would have been the candle that started the big boom before it ended up taking off. So these scanners do work, but think about this. So at 9:40 would have been this candle. That means, and it was actually alerted at 9:40.33. So we said 27 seconds before the start of a new minute. And at the start of a new minute, we would have been to 9:41, which would have been this candle. Okay, so when you come across other traders in their YouTube videos and go, oh, we're using our momentum scanner to find these stocks and we're killing it with our penny stocks, that's true. But as a beginner trader, when you're just starting off, the probability of you being able to trade these is going to be so much harder. And I'm not lying to you. That's the difference. They may lie to you. I am not. As a beginning trader, chances are you're going to lose more often than you'll win trying to trade these stocks, these low float little penny stocks that start running off of scanners like this. You can still use them, and you're going to have to be really quick. That's what I'm getting at. You need to be very quick, and you need to have hotkeys, and I'm going to explain why. Because even though we were alerted really, really soon with the stock BDR, even though we were alerted before the move, right? And let's look at it. So we were alerted on this candle. That candle is when we were alerted. We were alerted at 9:40.33. So that means we had 27 seconds. By the time this scanner popped up BDR, we had only 27 seconds to come in and type in BDR, hit enter. So let's do it like this. Let's start with a different stock. We were looking at HMNY. Next thing you know, we're watching stocks, and all of a sudden we get an alert over here for BDR, right, at 9:40.33, and we go, okay, well, that means we have 27 seconds to go to BDR. look at it, maybe zoom in, get a better idea of it. We have 27 seconds to make our decision on whether or not to buy this stock on this candle before the next one, before this one, and these couple here. So we're gonna have 27 seconds to make a decision before the next candle that goes up. And if we were to miss that entry, I mean, to be honest, you could have still made money, but you're gonna be losing out, right? But again, we have an alert, and we have 27 seconds to really think about whether or not we want to buy the stock before the next candle goes green. That's not a lot of time. That's very, you have to be very quick. And you got to know how to use hotkeys, right? If you're just a beginner, hotkeys may not be something you're familiar with, okay? So when you go and you see YouTube videos of people making thousands of dollars because a penny stock was alerted on a scanner and they hopped in with 10,000 shares, that comes with practice. This is not something you're going to pick up overnight. Though we have these scanners for you here to use, and you can use them, and you might be able to start finding these stocks. Trading them is still a different story. But throughout this course and enough of this information, you guys should learn how to really get a good understanding of trading. And over time, you'll be able to do the exact same. Okay. So let's scroll up. I believe there was another good one on here, maybe. Not that I remember. Okay, so that covers it. Now before we go further into the window specific filters on this trade idea scanner, let's talk about it again. So this low float scanner right here, low float Momo scan, this is ideally to pick up stocks that just start running out of nowhere, because we're not going to know about them, right? We're not going to know that the stock is going to be good based off of pre-market action, because if you look, there is nothing here pre-market that signals it's going to be good. Okay. We wouldn't have been watching BDR. There would have been no reason to watch BDR, because if you look over the course of the past couple days, the stock has been trading on extremely, extremely light volume. So this wouldn't have been on our radar because it's trading on high volume. And you could even go further to look and go, oh well, every once in a while it has a spike, but you're not going to watch the stock for days on end waiting for it to spike. No, you'll just use a momentum scanner and wait for some stock to pop up on your radar. Okay, so there would have been no reason to really watch this stock, but the only reason it's on the scan, only reason we're watching it now is because we were alerted of it on our scanner. And the only way you're going to find these random spikes and runners is with some type of low float momentum scan. Now let's go into the configuration and kind of take a look at what's actually taking place behind the scenes. So again, like I said in later videos, I'll go over the whole customization and really diving deep into understanding and using trade ideas. But for this video, understand that you can download the Scanning Cloud, and if you want to play around with the settings, feel free to do so. You just have to download, the Scanning Cloud from these previous lectures we've done. Okay, so let's go into the window-specific filters, and here I'm going to talk about it. So first things first, when we're doing this, we're scanning for stocks, so we have to have a price at which we're trying to scan for. And in here, we're scanning for prices from 1 to 15 because, well, though it's a low float scanner, stocks can pop up to $15 and still have, a low float, or they can still be good to trade even if they're higher priced. So for me, right, I keep it from 1 to 15. But if you want to only trade stocks that are 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, you can always put a cap or a max dollar value that you're trying to scan for. Okay, so that is obviously entirely up to you. All right, so right there is just price at which we're trying to scan for, which stocks we're trying to play, and we're trying to play stocks that are scanning from 1 to 15. The volume today is 20,000, at least 20,000. Now, you guys may be saying, wait, Connor, you've told us before, or you've heard before, have you read before, that we should only be trading stocks that at least have, like a daily volume or at least traded a couple 100,000 shares of volume. And so you're scanning for stocks that are only trading 20,000. That's true. And I'll touch back on it. And the reason it's that way is because think about this stock here, BDR. Let's hold on one second. We'll go back into here. Okay, so look at BDR. Right, it only traded right in the morning. This was 9,000 shares of volume. So it's 9.4, so we're getting close. So now we're at about 20. So at 9:33, a couple minutes into the bell, it's only traded probably 20,000 shares of volume, right? We're only about 50, maybe probably about 50,000 shares of volume. We don't even hit 100,000 shares of volume until 9:40, 10 minutes into the bell before we actually start moving. So throughout this whole time period, we hadn't even hit 100,000 shares of volume. we did throughout here, we would have ended up hitting, you know, like 500,000 shares in this trading zone, because you can see, you know, down here that the volume, right, the volume, if you go straight across on those two candles alone, was above 200,000. So, you know, just on that candle and that candle, we already hit a volume of 500,000. But if we scan for volume of 500,000, that means we would have caught this stock on the very top. That makes sense, right? If we delete this off, at this point, right, on these two candles or these two bars of volume that I just, you know, aimed at, that's at which point the stock would have started trading around 500,000 shares of volume. So if we were scanning only for, you know, stocks, if we came over to scanning, but volume today, 500,000, we would have never been alerted of BDR on this candle. We would have been alerted on this candle or this candle, and at which point it's too late to even get in, because you already have made the moves already happened, right? It could continue up later, but for this particular move, it's already done, okay? So that's why we are going to scan for stocks that are trading on 20,000 shares of volume, because I said before, a lot of these low float and penny stocks that just pop up out of nowhere, they usually start trading on really low volume, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50,000, maybe 100,000, then we'll start to pick up. So we want to know before they pick up. So we scan low and we look for a volume spike, right? So here we go. We have our, we have our volume today, 20,000. So we keep it low because most of the penny stocks will start off with low volume and then they'll start picking up. But we want to know before they start picking up, so we set the volume lower. Now the problem with this is, of course, you're going to get alerted of stocks that are trading on really low volume that may be garbage, but there's nothing you can do, because the same garbage penny stocks that we don't want to trade fit inside the same category or scan criteria as the penny stocks we do want to trade. So there's really no way of weaning them out, and that's where it kind of still comes down to you to do the work, to go, you look at the ticker and go, okay, this is not the one. You look at the ticker and go, this is the one. So you still have to work it, right? And there's really no way around that, okay? So if we continue down here, you'll see float is the next one. Again, when we're looking for penny stocks, we're scanning for low float. Low float equaling low supply, okay? We want low supply stocks, because if we have low supply and then the buying pressure or the demand picks up, then that's the better chance we'll see those prices really pop up, okay? So in the float section here, we're just gonna, you know, we don't really want a minimum, because the lower the float, the better it is of a penny stock to potentially trade, right? So we're going to leave float just a minimum of 0, and then the float here for max for low float is 15,000, or sorry, not 15,000, 15 million. Anything below 20, 15 million, that's really a low float stock. So I particularly scan for anything below 15 million there. Okay. And again, that's just to keep or make sure that we're scanning for low float stocks on that particular scanner. Okay. Now this is where we're going to start getting a little bit more in depth with things. All right. So I'm actually going to move. Actually, I'm going to kind of scroll this over here. Okay, and make it a little bit smaller. There we go. All right. So look at this, right? So the next thing we come down to after float on the scanner is percent change, or change from open. This equals, you know, if you look here, you have a little percent sign. That's percent change from open. So what the scanner is also looking for is stocks that are up at least 3% on the day from their opening price. So 9:30, bell rings, the stock was, you know, $1, that pops up a few pennies. Now it's 3% up from the opening price. So wherever the stock opens, the scanner will only alert us of stocks that have gone up at least 3% on the day right now. Because if a penny stock is going to take off, it's most likely going to pop up first and then it's going to go. So we're going to scan for stocks that are up 3% on the day from the opening price of that current day. All right. Now, and as you can see here, right, I'll show you why it alerted BDR on that particular, what I was just talking about with the 3% up. Right, because if you look at the opening price was like, you know, right around 90, like 9, what is that, 91 cents, right? So 91 cents, this one candle, from the opening of this candle and the closing, we were already up 4% on the day. So this candle is already, you know, it's already hitting one of our particular scan criteria. And again, We're not going to get alerted unless all of the specific window filters. So we will not get alerted, right? You know, the scanner here, the scanner will not alert us unless everything on this window, all these window specific filters have been met. Okay, so when we come down, so let's go over this in a little bit different manner. So if we look at it, the price of BDR is definitely within that range. Okay, it was 90 cents here, right? Remember, it was 90 cents, but we're scanning for stocks over $1. So it was 90 cents. But when it got to this candle, we finally broke over $1. So that's why we were alerted right there at about 9:40, because we were just over $1. We had already traded over 20,000 shares of volume. The stock does, in fact, have a float lower than 15 million. We have successfully gone up 3% on the day from the open. Now, our next one down is relative volume. Relative volume, I've stated in other videos, but relative volume, it ideally is just scanning for stocks that are, you know, trading, you know, 2 times more than they typically would. That's all it means, 2 times more than they typically would. Right, so far right now, VDR is trading 2 times more than it typically would, okay? So on to the next one. And again, the reason we do that is because, well, if a stock isn't trading more than it typically would, it's probably not going to have anything more than a typical day, right? Stocks don't just normally run 200% in a day. They don't just normally take off and run 50% out of the gates. They don't normally do that. So if they don't normally do that, then they're probably going to be trading on volume that's more than their usual, right? Hence relative volume. We're looking for stocks that are trading 2 times, at least 2 times their normal volume, okay? So volume 1 minute. So we have covered relative volume. So the reason we were alerted of BDR because it was in fact starting to trade 2 times its regular volume at 9:40. Then we have volume on 1 minute, 400, and volume on 5 minute, 400 as well, okay? So really what this does, the reason I have both of them in there, you can play around with them, but I do both of them just in case. It's more of like an insurance thing because, you know, maybe we don't get the massive volume. You know, hold on, let me hop back for a second. So the reason we have volume 1 minute, 400, so ideally what this is scanning for, it's scanning for unusual volume spikes. Unusual volume spikes on a 1 minute time frame. So if we come over here to the stock, you'll see that, you know, this was all of a sudden, look at here, there was like no volume, no volume, no volume. No, there was just, I mean, there was clearly, but it was so low that it didn't even plot. Then all of a sudden, boom, volume spike, volume spike, volume spike, volume spikes, volume spikes, right? So there was no volume, and all of a sudden there was volume. So that would have alerted us, or that scanner would have picked up that unusual 1 minute volume spike. It's not normally doing that, so it would have picked up that unusual 1 minute volume spike right here, okay? And then, you know, we have the 5 minute volume spike. So say, you know, it's just trading pretty normal like this, like maybe there's a little bit of volume, so they're not necessarily picking up on the 1 minute volume spikes, but, you know, over the course of 5 minutes, it may consider that a big volume spike where you can catch some other runners. So those particular filters right there ideally will find the stocks that will all of a sudden have a really big volume spike. And volume is what drives price action up. Without volume, stocks go nowhere. So being able to have a scanner that picks us up unusual volume spikes, right, is going to help us catch these low flow penny stocks that just start taking off out of nowhere, okay? So again, like I said, BDR was alerted on our scanner because it had met all of these specific window filters in here, okay? If BDR did not meet every one of these specific window filters, we would not have been alerted, okay? So this brings me back to something else, is that every once in a while, you will in fact miss some penny stock. There will be some penny stock that ends up taking off and running, and you won't know about it because it doesn't hit your scanners. And it's going to happen because, like I said earlier, there's so many variations and so many different factors that go into a stock. You know, volume 1 minute spike, volume 5 minute spike. Did it go down first, then go up? Right? There's so many different aspects and different characteristics that, you know, go into a stock and how it trades that you just can't scan for it all. Okay, and if you do that, you'll pick up all of the stocks, but you're also going to pick up a wide variety of a bunch of junk stocks. And then what you're going to do is you're going to create a massive, massive, massive list of alerts that you just cannot simply go through. There's just going to be too many. You won't be able to keep up. It'll be alert, 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 and it'll just be going like this. And you won't even be able to think because you're trying to go through all the alerts. Okay, so you will miss stocks. You won't be able to get them all. Okay, and there's nothing you can do about that. You can try and again, that's why you can always go in and tweak scanners and always play with them to see what you're starting to pick up and what you like better, right? And that's what trading is. It's more of finding what you like the best, but taking these learning educational videos and doing what you have to with that information to set yourself up. Okay, so that is the low float momentum scan right here. So real quick, we'll run over it. Of course, we have the time of the alerts, right? We have the symbol. Don't really worry about type. This is kind of a generic thing that they put into a lot of alert windows on Trade Ideas. You can make the alert window to go down, but this really isn't telling us much. We have the symbol for what we're being alerted, which stock to trade. We have the price. Price will be the next one here. We have relative volume. Remember, we're scanning for relative volume. So the higher the relative volume number, the better, because the more it's trading, the more relative volume it's trading. That means more people are interested in. So the higher the number on relative volume, the better. But again, we're scanning for at least 2, because 2, if anything's trading 2 times its regular volume, it's pretty good. Okay. Then of course we have the volume, right? So, right, we have time, symbol, price of the stock, relative volume telling us that it's trading more than its normal. Volume today, so we can track just how much volume it has traded. The float, so we know the supply, how many shares are out there to actually buy. They have 8 million, 6 million. And then we have percent change from open. This will just tell us how much it's up on the day from the opening price. Okay. So now we're gonna take this one off the screen, and now we're going to look into the low float 3 consecutive candle scanner. Now this scanner picked up a stock FTFT on Friday, but the stock that the scanner I just showed you, the low float momentum scanner, did not pick the stock up. And didn't I just get done telling you that sometimes the scanner will pick this one up, but you'll miss another one? And that's because you simply cannot scan for everything in one scanner, or else you'll just have too many alerts going on. Well, this is one of those scenarios. This is one of those particular cases, because we have this other low float 3 consecutive candle scanner that alerted us of another good penny stock, FTFT, but this stock wasn't alerted on the other penny stock scanner because the scan criteria for them both are a little bit different. So again, they may not pick up all the same stocks. All right, so let's look at FTFT. And again, this was from Friday, which was just a day ago from when I'm making this video. So if you look at FTFT, look at this one. This one did way better than BDR. This one went from 203 all the way to 355. So this thing ran almost $1.50 in just a few minutes. So imagine if you hopped in, with 3,000 shares closer to $1, or closer to $2. You're hopping in, you got a $6,000 position. All of a sudden, it pops up $1. You're up $3,000. That's why people love trading these little low float running penny stocks, because if you get good enough and you practice enough and you get scanners and all those things and you can hop in on time, imagine long time down the road, you've been doing it for a long time, you're getting closer to where I'm at in my career. I can hop in 10,000 shares on one of these stocks, hop in 10,000 shares, it pops up $1, you're up $10,000 on the day, right? So those videos you see of people making $10,000, $20,000, it doesn't seem that far-fetched when I put it into perspective for you, because look at the scanner. Now this scanner actually alerted FTFT a little bit later, but again, sometimes that's just going to happen because there's so many different filters you can scan for that you cannot possibly get every single stock at the perfect time every time. Okay, but let's just say for fun that you did in fact get alerted right before the big boom on this, and you hopped in right around $2, maybe $2.30, 10,000 shares, pops up to 3, then 320, you're up $10,000. You've seen videos like that where people make $10,000, $20,000 online. It's true because you can, right? Imagine just hopping in 10,000 shares. In 4 minutes, this thing goes up $1. You're already up $10,000 on the day. It's not going to happen every day, and you don't go chasing for that, but it can, okay? So here's the stock FTFT. Doesn't it look very similar? It looks very similar to BDR, where it was trading absolutely no volume for the past couple days. So we would have no reason to even be paying attention to BDR, or sorry, FTFT, right? Then look at here, all of a sudden, if you're looking at pre-market trading, there is no action pre-market. Okay, so we wouldn't have known about it based on our pre-market scan. So we would need something like this scanner that tells us if a stock just starts moving randomly right in the middle of the day. And sure enough, it did. This one particularly, the first alert was at 9:49:02. So basically right at the start of 9:49. So if we come over to the chart and we look for 9:49, let's see what time that was. So 9:49 was this candle. So we didn't get alerted of FTFT until this candle right here. That one. That was the 9:49 candle. So you can see the move already started going, but at this candle, we would have been alerted right around 2. Let's see, we would have been alerted of the price right at the open of this candle at 9:49, right about a price of 250. And even at that point, it still went up another $1. So if you hopped in with even 500 shares, 300 shares at that point, you still could have made $300-400 on the trade in a couple minutes. Of course, that would have been if you played it right at 250 and got out right at 350, very unlikely. So yeah, you still could have made a good trade there. Now this one was alerted at 9:49, so the question is, why wasn't it alerted before? Why can't we get it at this time frame? Well, we can. If you play around with the scanner long enough and you test it, you could probably get the alert to come through right here on this candle, or maybe even these candles here. But what that's also going to do is it's going to start, what's that also, by changing the scanner criteria right now to try and get it, to alert us right there, is we might end up picking up, a stock that looks like that, and it looks like that, and it looks like that. So by changing the scan criteria to try and manipulate it more to give us a better entry on this scanner, we may in fact start picking up, a lot of different stocks that the scanner normally would not pick up, right? So what you can do, and really what that comes down to, is scanning for them right here. What do you see? There's less volume, right? On these candles, there's less volume. So essentially, you're going to have to decrease the volume you're scanning for, right? And that would increase the amount of low volume stock the scanner picks up. So like I said before, it's very hard to get it all perfect because there's so much you can scan for, and there's so many stocks that will meet those scan criteria that you're going to start pulling up really, really garbage stocks, okay? So for example, yeah, you know what, FTFT, it wasn't the best alert, but you still could have made some money on it. And who knows, this stock did not have to stop at 355. It could have went all the way to $7 or $6. Now you're thinking, well, that was a good alert, right? So you got to say that to yourself too, is this stock, FTFT, could have went all the way to $6-7. Sure, it only went to 355, but it's very well possible it could have kept running all the way to $7. And then if it did, you would have been saying, boy, oh boy, that alert at 250 was a great alert if it went all the way to 250. Or sorry, it went all the way to $7. So again, you would think that this alert was doggone awesome if the stock went all the way to 7, because you basically got alerted at the very beginning of the move. But when the stock only goes up, from $1 to 350, and the alert was right there halfway in the middle of the move, you're thinking, well, that alert's not that good. We should get it right down here. You can do that. You're going to fiddle with the scanner more, but you're also going to pick up more irrelevant stocks. But if the stock went from $1 or $2 all the way to $7, and the alert was at 250, you would have been like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest scanner in the world. So again, you have to be realistic with what you're asking. The market's full of so many different characteristics. You're just not going to get them all, bottom line. All right. So there's FTFT. So what is this scanner? How is this scanner a little bit different than the previous scanner I just showed you? So again, sure, it looks a little bit different, right? And this is it's just a particular look that we have. And actually, the scanner comes out a little bit more. There's much more that goes into it, right? So this is one that I really haven't took too much time to kind of fiddle around with and customize it. But that's okay, because all we're looking for are the tickers. That's the most important thing, is the ticker. And of course, we have all this other information. To be honest, I'll go over this information. It's not necessarily a necessity to have on your scanner. All right, my previous scanner didn't have it, but we'll go over it real quick. So what we have here is time of alert, the symbol, the description. It's basically saying, hey, it made a new high over its previous price or previous resistance. So, you know, this can be kind of irrelevant if you want my honest opinion. The price at which the stock is at, the percent change from close. So that's just telling us how much the stock is up from yesterday. Okay, so how much is the stock up from yesterday? Volume today. Volume today is as it sounds. How much volume has the stock traded today? Relative volume. We went over relative volume in another, previously. Relative volume. Okay, we're trading or scanning here the stocks on relative volume over, 2. Okay, remember this one, volume 1 minute, volume 5 minute. What's the volume percentage on a 1 minute time frame? What's the volume percentage on a 5 minute time frame? Okay, and then here's just another volume today. So another completely irrelevant one. So don't even really have to worry about that. Count alerts, right? So these are just some other random columns that are in here that I haven't really actually edited out. I don't even use majority of them. It's just something that I haven't edited out yet. But again, right? That's it. You can always customize these scanners to your fitting and how you necessarily want them to look. All right. So now let's go into the configuration window here. And you can guys take a look at here. So we're going to go to window specific filters, and you'll notice that this is going to be very similar to the previous scanner, just a little bit different. Okay. So we still have price where we're scanning for stocks that we want to trade, maybe $1 to $15, or you're like $1 to $10. All right. Volume today is 200,000, right? So our volume today is 200,000. Remember in the previous scanner I showed you, the volume today was only 20,000, because that scanner, we're scanning for stocks that are really trading on almost no volume that start taking off out of nowhere. This scanner is, what it does is it kind of minimizes the search results, because in the previous one we scanned for lower volume so we can pick up a lot of other lower volume stocks. This one we scanned for 200,000 shares, so this one will necessarily pick us up stocks that have at least traded 200,000 shares of volume. So we wean out or we decrease the amount of search results we get because we're scanning for more volume, and we'll keep aside those smaller volume traded stocks. Okay, so let's continue down. All right, to the next one here. So we have float. The float here, we increase the float a little bit. The previous one was only 15 million. This one's 25 million. So we're scanning here for stocks that have at least a float of lower than or equal to 25 million. So they're equal to or less than 25 million share float. So we're not going to get stocks that have a 50 million share float. Okay, and again, like I said, low float stocks are really, to me, anything below 25,000 and below. So that's why we're going to scan and put the cap at 25 million. Okay. Relative volume, we went over relative volume. Relative volume here is 2, so we're scanning for stocks that are at least trading more than 2 times their typical volume rate. Volume 1 minute, so you remember this from the previous low float scanner. The volume 1 minute here, right here, this volume 1 minute is just scanning for stocks that on the last, for stocks that they've popped up and they're scanning or trading 200% on a 1 minute time frame, or they're trading 200 times their regular volume rate on a 1 minute spike. So that's going to tell us these stocks are just trading, and all of a sudden they get a big spike in volume. Those type of volume spike can very easily be the start of a stock starting to run and take off. So again, that's what we're scanning for. And then the last filter we have in here is the consecutive candles. Okay, so what this does, consecutive candles, it is as it sounds, consecutive. And as you can see in here, this box here, it shows the candles going up. So ideally, this right here is scanning for stocks that have consecutive candles going up, which clearly states uptrend. 3 candles in a row up states that that's an uptrend, essentially, or it could be the start of a trend up. So the scanner is going to alert us of stocks that are starting to trend up based on candles. So if the stock has had 3 consecutive candles, it's had a 1 minute volume spike of 200. It's trading relative over, its relative volume is 2. And then it's also, you know, it has a float below 25 million. The volume today is over 200,000, and it's priced in between 1 to 10. Then there, in fact, we will be alerted of it on the scanner. So let's get out of here. So now that you guys have got all that information, let's get out of here and just kind of recap on this. So again, we were alerted of FTFT at 9:49, which was this candle right there, that green one right before the red, because at this point, the stock had traded 200,000 shares of volume. It had seen a 1-minute volume spike. The float was below 25 million. The relative volume was 2. So when all that particular filters and scan criteria had been met, the time was 9:49. When this particular stock met all the scan criteria that's involved in this scanner, it was finally alerted at 9:49. Okay, so those are the two particular low float scanners that I use to find penny stocks that start running out of nowhere. Okay, now in later videos, we're going to go through and I'm going to discuss with you and show you how to trade off the scanner. So in these videos, we just show you how to really build the scanners and understand the scanners. And in later videos, we're going to show you when you are alerted of stock, how it is you actually want to kind of get in, analyze it before trading it. Okay, so that's the process of this whole section and whole mastering penny stocks, is to give you all the tools and all the information you need to know when it comes to trading penny stocks and how everybody does it. And then we got to show you how you actually trade the setups, what are the strategies, and what does everybody use. So it's learn it, understand what the penny stocks are, how to scan for them, what are the necessary tools to actually find the penny stocks that everyone talks about. Do you see this dude made $10,000 million trading on YouTube? Okay, it's to show you how to find them, then how do you trade them, and what are the strategies. And then after that, I'll give you some more information, kind of smaller details on some other, cool information regarding penny stocks. So again, guys, please continue down in this section, video after video. That's how you're going to get the most value. And in this next video, we're going to dive into the multi-strategy scanner that I have for, we're not going to touch on the multi-strategy scanner because that is not for penny stocks. So disregard that. So in these next videos, continue down as you're going to learn how to start implementing some of these trading strategies. All right, so stay tuned, guys.